Good morning, my name's Doc and I'm the International President of Bikers Against Trafficking. Bikers Against Trafficking has chapters throughout the United States and a few in Canada, 3 at the moment. We have some connections in Australia, the Netherlands, and Ukraine. And our goal is to eradicate human sex trafficking. And we do that pretty much in any way and every way you can imagine, right? From going in and trying to help people get out of the life, to providing good trauma care, therapy. We try to provide housing and pretty much job training, skills, anything and everything we can do to help someone have a better life. What I thought we'd do today, right, and this is the introduction to a series of short videos where we kind of talk about human trafficking in general. We're going to talk about some statistics, we're going to talk about verbiage, we're going to talk about trauma, and we'll update them from time to time. And so if you really want to learn more about human trafficking, we want to be a resource for that. One of the things that you have to be aware of is when it comes to statistics in human trafficking, no one really knows what's going on. Everybody kind of has an idea because since the majority of people who are being trafficked, no one really knows about. We try to take the statistics, and there's organizations who try to study those statistics to try to extrapolate and predict how bad it really is. But in the world in which I grew up in, which was full of crime, full of people being trafficked, I never met someone someone went in and documented that, hey, this is somebody who survived being trafficked, or this was someone in the process of being trafficked, right? A lot of people become this invisible entity, right? They're being trafficked. People may be aware of it, but most people turn a blind eye to it. So the statistics are skewed, right? No one really knows. We just know it's bad. So what we're first going to do is kind of paint the global picture. You might be familiar with the United Nations, right? The United Nations is comprised of 193 member states around the world. There's only 2 countries that I'm aware of that are not part of the United Nations, and that's the Vatican City and Palestine. Everyone else is part of the United Nations. Now, according to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, there are 99 countries where slavery or human trafficking is still allowed. 99 of the 193, you can still have slaves and it's legal. 94 countries where slavery is illegal, right? So they say it's illegal, but they don't enforce it, because only 13 countries in the United Nations actively criminalize slavery. So you can kind of imagine the effect that that has on the world as a whole. Like, people are aware of slavery, people are aware of trafficking, but they kind of turn a blind eye to it, and only 13 member states really criminalize it and try to attack it. Now, there's a lot of nonprofits trying to make inroads in all of those member states, but it's an uphill climb, to say the least. Now, the International Labor Organization in 2017 estimated that human trafficking is a $150 billion a year industry. So that's a lot of money that it is made through human trafficking. The Government Technology and Services Coalition in February 2019 reported that human sex trafficking, which of all the global trafficking, which is 150 billion, human sex trafficking comprised $99 billion worldwide. The International Labor Organization, ILO, in 2016 estimated that there are roughly 40.3 million people being victimized through modern-day slavery. So that's over 40 million people being held as slaves today. If you look at our world, and if you look at any other time in the history of our world, there's more people being held as slaves today than at any other point in history. Of the 40.3 million victims, right, or people being held in slavery, right, 29 million are women and girls. What's sad, right, the whole thing is sad, but what's sadder is that the top 3 destinations for human trafficking sexual exploitation, according to the Department of State TIPS report in 2012, is the United States, Philippines, and Mexico. The United Nations, in conjunction with the 2016 Department of State Trafficking in Persons Report, estimates that 1 in every 113 people around the world are in danger of being trafficked at any one moment in time. So you have to imagine that's a huge amount of people, and that's a lot of danger, right? And so worldwide, when we look out at the world and say, okay, how many people are really being trafficked? There's a lot. How many people are in danger of being trafficked? 1 in every 113 people. But that's on a global spectrum. Now, if you take a kind of a microcosm and zoom in on the United States, because we have a lot of statistics about the United States. There was a group called Californians Against Sexual Exploitation in 2019, and they did some statistical analysis, and they said only 0.04% of human trafficking people who have survived are ever identified. So the majority of people who have been trafficked are never identified. It is estimated that close to 300,000 teenagers are sold for sex each year in the United States. 80% of them are U.S. citizens, and that's from Shared Hope in the U.S. Attorney General's office. The average lifespan of a victim, and sometimes this is hotly debated, but the Innocence Lost National Initiative of the Department of Justice and the FBI say the average lifespan is 7 years. 1.3 million runaways and homeless youth live on the streets in the United States as of right now. The national incidence studies of missing, abducted, runaway, and throwaway children tell us that this is a true statistic. So think about it. 1.3 million teenagers are homeless and living on the streets. The average age of a victim, if you want to use that word, someone who's sucked into the life of being trafficked, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, is ages 11 to 14. Most people who are sexually abused between the ages of 6 to 10, 30% by family members, an additional 14% by people that they knew. The Counter-Trafficking Data Collaborative Global Hub of Statistics analyzes all these statistics. It says those people that are being trafficked as of today, 45% of them, if they're kids, are recruited by family members. 45%. 20% of adults are recruited by a friend. Another 20% are recruited by an intimate partner. So usually the people that really get people into the life are people that they know. And so we have to be careful about that. 68% of minors were being trafficked while still living at home, according to the National Research Council, along with the National Criminal Justice Reference Service. That's a lot of people, right? Living at home, still being trafficked. The FBI has stated in some reports that 60% of kids recovered from sex trafficking were from the foster care system. And we know vulnerability is a key. So if a trafficker can find somebody and find their vulnerability, right, they'll exploit it. And so we really have to be careful with that. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control also tell us that 16% of males 16% will be sexually assaulted by the age of 18. And that's hard for many of us to understand because a lot of times we don't think of boys or men being trafficked, right? We tend to think more of women. As a matter of fact, if a boy or a man is trafficked, right, they're almost told, hush up, because, you know, we don't want to talk about that. A 2018 study found that 55% of domestic minor sex trafficking survivors, those who have survived, met their traffickers for the first time using text, website, or an app. And that's according to Thorne, and that statistic is rising. 75% were advertised online. And guess what social media site or app is the most popular site to find someone? Like if you wanted to buy someone being sold for sex, or if you wanted to post someone being sold for sex. Guess what it is? Facebook. The Government Technology and Services Coalition in February 2019 said this statement: a child is sold and raped in the United States every 30 seconds. U.S. citizens are the largest consumers of child pornography. The average victim will return to the life 7 times. That's a terrible statistic. Terrible. In 2014, the Washington Times reported that human trafficking surpassed drug trafficking as the most profitable criminal enterprise in the world. Now, some people say it's number 2, some people say it's number 1. All we know is it makes a great amount of money. Because of that, right, we really have to be aware that it's everywhere. Human trafficking happens in every country, it happens in every state, probably in every city, probably all around you. Regarding Florida, right, which Bikers Against Trafficking is headquartered in Lake Mary, Florida, based on the number of calls that Polaris or the national hotline receives, Florida is number 3 in the amount of people reporting. No one knows which is the worst state for trafficking or the second or third. We're not saying Florida is number 3 in the nation. We're just saying Florida is number 3 in reported calls. Remember, no one knows the accurate statistics. So now what about the internet, right? The internet is probably the best thing ever invented for trafficking. There was a detective who said that in today's society, it's safer to drop your kid off in the middle of a public park at night than it is to leave them in their bedroom alone with their phone. There are traffickers who exclusively use Instagram, a very public platform, not just to sell victims, but to recruit them. They'll send hundreds of messages a day to different people, which is easy to do on Instagram. And then they say, hey, I think you're really beautiful. I want to go on a date. Let's meet up. And even if 98% of the people don't respond because they know it's a scam, 1 or 2 will. And that's the danger. The internet exposes thousands upon thousands of people who are vulnerable to traffickers. Especially in this era of COVID-19, right, the pandemic. So many people are online doing school, and so it's become a trafficker's playground. They know that so many people are online, and now they're trying to find ways. So since COVID-19 really hit, which is March 2020 in the United States, here's how the world has changed. During the first month of the pandemic, OnlyFans, which is a private selling site of erotic photos and videos, gained 3.7 million new people, and it continues to grow. As a result of COVID, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees said 75% of humanitarian operations around the world have stopped. The World Bank predicts that 70 million people will be driven into extreme poverty. 102 member states of the United Nations fear that their anti-trafficking shelters will be shut down in the year 2020. At the same time, there has been, according to foreignpolicy.com, a 200% spike in advertising of children being abused and a 90% drop in material being removed from the internet because people are so overwhelmed. Groups such as the Association of Certified Financial Crime Specialists, who kind of track money, state that demand for services are skyrocketing and video voyeurism is increasing like never before. So Interpol said with the cessation of most international travelers, right, people are turning online or risking a little bit more. So a research subcommittee of the Ohio Attorney General Human Trafficking Commission got in touch with the University of Toledo, which has a big human trafficking resource center, right? And they started doing some research, and they said that #1 thing that traffickers are looking for are vulnerabilities, especially youth vulnerabilities. So we have to be aware that in the midst of everything, traffickers are tuning in to the internet. So we need to be aware of how prevalent it really is. Human trafficking is everywhere. Be informed.